Welcome once again to Powsowdie House, mine and Jack's home. I hope that you're all keeping well and you're not getting too stir crazy. But I think, if we all look to the Lord to keep us calm and to keep us in peace. I see every day on Facebook some great acts of worship and fellowship. People are doing an amazing job of keeping in touch with each other and lifting people's spirits. And I think it's important that we keep that up. I'm looking forward to when we can all share in fellowship and worship face to face. I'm missing the hugs. It'd be nice when we can all be together again. But until then, let's continue to worship in whatever way we can. And this week I decided to record just a short message based on an Old Testament reading from the book of Ruth. And this is as a lead into next week's sermon, next week's message for Palm Sunday. So let's hear the reading from Ruth.
So Boaz took Ruth home as his wife. The Lord blessed her, and she became pregnant and had a son. The women said to Naomi, "Praise the Lord. He has given you a grandson today to take care of you. May the boy become famous in Israel. Your daughter-in-law loves you and has done more for you than 7 sons. And now she has given you a grandson who will bring new life to you and give you security in your old age." Naomi took the child, held him close, and took care of him. The women of the neighborhood named the boy Obed. They told everyone, "A son has been born to Naomi." Obed became the father of Jesse, who was the father of David.
Ruth, the outsider who came in. The book of Ruth is a very short book and probably one of the easiest to read in the Bible. It's essentially a story of 2 women, Naomi and Ruth, who are not related by blood, but by Ruth's marriage to Naomi's son. They're not even joined by faith, because Ruth's tribe was not of the Jewish faith. But regardless of their differences, a love, a bond grew between them that had consequences that far outreached anything they could have ever imagined. The story of Ruth is a clear message that God had a plan. And God still has a plan. And He will see it through. It's also a story that demonstrates that the love and the grace of God is for everyone. And this is demonstrated by the fact that God brought a woman, an outsider, Ruth, who was not of the faith, into His plan for our salvation. Now you can read the whole story for yourself, but in short, Naomi and her husband went from Bethlehem to Moab during the famine, and they went along with their 2 sons. Now, Naomi's husband dies, but she's still got her 2 sons to take care of her. Her 2 sons then marry women, not from their faith, but from Moab, Orpah and Ruth. Unfortunately then, Naomi's sons also die. This leaves 3 women alone. 3 women who clearly care a great deal about each other. Now in those days, women that were left alone in this way would turn to family for help. So Naomi, who has now heard that God has blessed His people, that's her people in Judah, in her homeland, the famine is clearly over, and she decides to return to her family in Bethlehem. Her 2 loving daughter-in-laws decide to go on the journey with her. But on the way, Naomi tells them to go back to their mothers in Moab, where they will be cared for. Naomi explains why they've nothing to gain from staying with her. She has no more sons, and she can't provide them with husbands then to take care of them. That might give them children that would take care of them. And it's best that they go back to their mothers in Moab. And after many tears, Orpah kisses Naomi and says goodbye. But Ruth will not let Naomi go. Naomi says to her, look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people, back to her gods, and you should do the same. And this is where, for me, Ruth makes the most incredible statement, an incredible statement of faith to our God. And she says this to Naomi: don't ask me to leave you and to turn back. Wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you live, I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. May the Lord punish me severely if I allow anything but death to separate us. I just love that first sentence. Don't ask me to leave you and turn back. This is Ruth not only saying, don't make me leave you, Naomi. She's also saying, don't make me leave your God, who is now my God. Don't make me turn my back on him. A cry we should all echo in our faith. Lord, don't ever let me leave you. Don't ever let me turn away. The story of Ruth and Naomi goes on. It continues. They continue on their journey to Bethlehem. It's not a long story, and you can fill in the details when you read this for yourself. But I'm now going to jump to the end of the book, closer to our reading, where after Naomi and Ruth settle in Bethlehem, there transpires a rather complicated and circumspect introduction between Naomi's brother-in-law Boaz and Ruth, resulting in Boaz entering into complicated negotiations with the elders of the village to enable him to marry Ruth so she can become his wife. And then Ruth and Boaz have a son who Naomi takes in her arms and loves as her own. Her family is complete again. But the punchline for me in the story of Ruth is found in verse 17 of our short but important reading, where it says this about Boaz and Ruth's sons. The villagers named him Obed. He became the father of Jesse, the grandfather of David. So here is where we see God's plan. Ruth, the outsider, comes in to the faith by her relationship and fellowship with another woman, Naomi. Ruth gives birth to Obed, father of Jesse, grandfather of David, making Ruth part of the earthly bloodline of Jesus. Ruth, by her marriage to Boaz, bearing a son, played her part in fulfilling the prophecy made by Isaiah that the Messiah would indeed come from that bloodline. Wow. What an important part the relationship between these two women, Naomi and Ruth, played in the story of our salvation. What an incredible story that shows how love and fellowship can bring others to our faith and to salvation. A message that is still relevant today. What a wonderful example of God revealing his plan for our salvation. And we should gain comfort from the knowledge that God does have a plan. I know, even though it's not always easy for us to accept what is happening, we need to acknowledge that God knows what he is doing. And we need to remind ourselves that his plan is working its way towards our ultimate salvation, even now. And as we move closer to our Easter celebrations, we are reminded that Jesus is part of that plan. Jesus is the plan. And this plan is revealed in the coming weeks. And next Sunday we celebrate Jesus' glorious entry into Jerusalem on a donkey. And this brings us to next week's message. Jesus is coming. Amen. See you all next week.